Corey, what do you think you might have an interest in? I quickly responded, is there somewhere that the bank already has money committed that you need representation? Oh, and I'm not kidding. He pulled the car over, like in a parking lot. We were going down Kennedy Boulevard. He pulled off Kennedy and pulled in the parking lot. I'm like, uh-oh. He pulled the car off and he put it in park, and he looks at me, right, just for impact. And he goes, that's not how we do it here. You find something you care about. You find something you're passionate about. You go embed yourself in that place, and we'll put the money behind you. I'll never forget that, right? And so I
love that story, but it's also you're bringing me back to my childhood. It's like, I'm going to pull this car over.
I'll pull this car over.
You got the car pulled over on you.
Yeah, I did.
Welcome to Money Market, a Bank of Tampa podcast. We highlight the businesses, expert business advice, the local economy, and points of interest in the Tampa Bay market. Follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and wherever you find your favorite podcast. And make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and share this episode with your friend or colleague. I am your host, Owen LaFave, the Pinellas County Market President for the Bank of Tampa, Tampa Bay's oldest and largest community bank. Today's guest is someone apparently you all have been waiting for, because I get asked all the time, when is my boss, Corey Neal, the president and the CEO of Bank of Tampa, is coming on the podcast. So we made it happen. Corey has a long and storied 30-year career in banking. He joined the Bank of Tampa 22 years ago, became CEO in 2022 after holding multiple positions throughout the past 2 decades at the bank. Corey's had numerous board positions in the community, but currently serves as the chairman of the board of directors for Tampa General Hospital. Also serves on the board of the Florida Bankers Association and ICBA, or the Independent Community Bankers of America. Additionally, he is recognized as a Power 100 honoree, which is one of the 100 most influential leaders in Tampa Bay. Corey Neal, welcome to your podcast.
All right. Thanks, Owen.
You're welcome.
One correction, I'm not chairman of Tampa General, be clear.
Okay.
I'm on the board of the hospital, the operating board of the hospital, and I serve as the investment committee chair. I was chairman of the Tampa General Hospital Foundation.
Yes.
And I gave up that chairmanship a year and a half ago, probably. So
okay. Well, I'm
heavily involved.
I'm forecasting.
Yeah.
I figure that's your trajectory.
No. Heavens no.
You go to the top of every
Don't make any
organization.
commitments like that.
So, okay. This is, we don't have softballs on here, even though you're the boss.
Yeah.
So first like fastball question. What's your infatuation with styrofoam?
Well, where do we stop? Yeah, funny you should ask that. Actually, it's kind of apropos given our conversations as we started today. We live in Florida. It's hot. If you're drinking water or anything in a glass in Florida, it condenses and ends up with water everywhere. And that drives me crazy, because you take a drink and it all ends up over your shirt and your lap. And so styrofoam does not condense.
It does not.
It keeps it nice and cold. And I don't like hot drinks either. So I'm preserving ice. I'm obsessed really with ice, which makes me obsessed with
We need
styrofoam.
to get you. I feel like we used to have like the Bank of Tampa Tervis, right? Didn't we at one point?
So we do, but the way I see that is a styrofoam cup can come with you everywhere, and if somebody won't let you carry it in where you're going, you just dispose of it. No big deal.
Okay.
I feel like I don't have disposable Bank of Tampa Tervis money. So.
Fair enough. Thank you. All right. So serious question now. So you've spent a significant amount of time helping the bank, shaping the bank. You've held 6 different positions within the bank. I think people would be interested to hear, like, how did you come to the bank? What has your journey been like?
Yeah, boy, it's a fun story. It's a long one, so I'll condense it to try and truncate. But I really didn't think I was going to be a banker, to be honest, when I got out of college.
And most of us don't, right?
Right, yeah.
Find our way here.
Find your way here. And that, in fact, is what happened to me. I took my first job working with a major regional bank because they had a great training program, and I thought, in the absence of what else there might be available, like that should be a good place to get started. So I did, and I spent 7 years there. And to be fair, I owe that bank, a lot, because they created me who I am and the foundation of my credit skills and how to do the job. But what I started to realize, is kind of deepening into that time. It just didn't feel like that was the kind of banker that, if I was going to stay in banking, that I was supposed to be. And
what do you mean by that? Like corporate?
Well, yeah, it was big regional place that if my career advanced and progressed, it was going to move me, all over new cities and places where I thought, I'm not sure that that's the highest and best use of my skill set, which is kind of big time relationship guy. So the future was a little like, I wasn't sure where the future was going to take me in a large corporate world like that. Really through a variety of impacts, including kind of divine intervention, the opportunity that presented itself was coming to the Bank of Tampa. And that was in, 2003. And so 22 and a half years ago. And really, April and I, my wife, we had just had our first child, and neither one of us were from Tampa, but yet we kind of looked at each other and said, we met here and we love this place. And if I stayed in the regional bank and the super regional and national bank world, our lives were going to be moving somewhere else. And so when this opportunity with the Bank of Tampa came about, we looked at each other and were like, do you want to just dig roots here? And it was a resounding yes. And so, of course, then I started to meet the people within the bank and the leadership of the bank, and I was sold. Minute one, and I've never looked back. So the time here now, 22 and a half years, it started as being a commercial banker, which I was classically, trained and manufactured to be. And then just every day, I kind of woke up and said, I wonder what's going to be next for me at our bank, and how can I make an impact? And that's what's been rolling for a good while now.
Here you are, 22 years later. So man, it's rolled. So
I think I'll just finish that. One of the things that I think when I look back, and I try and share this with whenever we have young people joining the bank, or I have an opportunity to address young adults, is what I'm most proud of in that moment is at 29 years old, I think I made a mature decision, which that's hard to do. And that was a difference maker for me.
What advice would you give to young bankers, whether it be a teller or banking rep, or someone that's coming as a commercial banker that aspires to be Corey Neal and CEO one day?
Yeah, it's a great. Thank you for the opportunity to answer that, because I think not everybody's going to follow the same path in their career, and not everybody has the same goals in their career, and I respect that. I chose a profession that to be successful. And you have to define what success means to you. But to be successful in Corey's mind, it was, how do I build a career that's stable, that's predictable, that will provide for a family, that will provide for, fulfillment in what I want to accomplish throughout my career and my life, frankly. And so I challenged myself with that. So everybody should challenge themselves with what are they really trying to get out of what they do. If they see it as just a job, okay, then get the most out of your job. If they see it as part of their life and their career because they hadn't quite made it to past the job status yet, then evaluate it from that perspective. At the end of the day, what does it mean to have that opportunity here at our organization? It means understand the value of work-life balance, understand the value of predictability long-term, buy into the long-term mission and that it creates a predictable outcome, and be patient. Be so patient. Remember, we don't have all these rungs to climb, right? So just find a way to define success with you. I'll kind of bring that to a head with one quick story that might be apropos. The bank invested in me to do some advanced leadership training. This is back in 2015, and it was taking place in New York City, Manhattan,
University, right?
Columbia. And so I was terrified to go, because all I could picture was that I was going to go up there, and Columbia Business School was going to turn me into the Wall Street corporate raider, rule with an iron fist. Yeah. Kind of leader, which is not who I wanted to be, right? That was just not on my radar. Anyways, unbelievable experience. I was there for a month. The bank was unbelievable to support me in that, and my family was unbelievable to support me in that. One of the opportunities while I was there was a psychologist that basically sat with me for like 2.5 days in a variety of different sessions where we were doing testing and evaluation, and a lot of that kind of, ripped the top of your head open and stir it up and mix it around kind of stuff. But one of the exercises that I still have to this day was this card exercise where you just basically, through 4 or 5 different sessions, you start narrowing down values to the point where that you end up with basically, after trading cards and values, and you end up with basically just a few cards that define like kind of who you are and what your true north is, what your guiding kind of presence is. And you've heard me use the word a couple of times, but mine was impact, right? I mean, that was my true north, is just make an impact. So I was able to define success through that word, right? So what is, success with an impact on my family, success and impact on my community, success and impact in my career. And you start really boiling down to the things, the true values that you kind of come up with. And never once did I say money. Never once did I say title. Never once did I say any tangible thing there, right? It was something deeper that you got to strive for. And that's a lot to ask, right? Not everybody's got the ability to sit down with a psychologist to go through that exercise, but I think you can kind of do it on your own, just think about really what's important to you.
Mm-hmm. I never drew the conclusion until this very moment right now. But so when I was asked to interview for the Pinellas County Market President position, I put together a 90-day plan. Mm-hmm. And within that, very heavily and maybe too much, I talked about in various ways I was making an impact. And I remember you reading my plan and you specifically calling that out and asking me, what does this mean to you? What do you plan to do with it? Now I know.
You know why.
Now I know.
Yeah, impact. I think impact is, again, it's not everybody has impact as their word, but and I look back over my career, my life, frankly, even as a child, right? Like there was something true to that even back then, right? Like that's really what I was trying to accomplish.
Do you spend any time thinking about the what ifs if you stayed at that large regional bank and geography? What that looks like, what you'd be doing right now? Yeah.
No, it's funny. One of my best friends that I got manufactured and training program with at that other bank, he stayed. And he and I compared notes for 10 plus years afterwards, and his career really had a meteoric rise. And there were times where I was really jealous of the progress. Now, he had to move from Tampa to Chattanooga, then to Atlanta, and then had to travel kind of the country, and was having just a lot of what on paper appeared like real success. And I'm sure there was monetary gain associated with it. There were certainly impressive titles that came along with it. And then one day he called me and he said, Corey, I got bad news for you. I was like, what's that? He goes, I just got laid off. He says, I was in that level of management that wasn't, necessarily at the top. I was expendable, and poof, my job just disappeared like that. And, throughout that time, he and I had conversations where I was like, man, it's amazing to watch what you're doing. And he would look at me and say, no, I think you've got it wrong, Corey. You've got to figure it out. You find out where you want to be, what's right for your family, and where you can kind of lay your roots and start making a real impact for a long term. So it was cool. We traded notes back and forth, and
it's great to have that comparison and be able to evaluate the trajectory and then feel good about, because there's always the what if, and if everyone else is gone and you don't have that sounding board and someone else that went through what your experience probably could have been.
That's right.
You wouldn't have known. So that's amazing. I think I shared with you, the same kind of trajectory. I had the opportunity to go into one of those programs, right? And it was, we will stick you in whatever geography and whatever discipline where we need you in the country. And I'm like, well, that sounds terrible. I don't want to leave Tampa. Yeah. So I ended up kind of taking the same trajectory, but decided to kind of put the flag down and say, okay, this is home.
Yeah, and I think that really is kind of what gets back to what feels like me and you, obviously the same, which is just community bankers, right? People that believe the most value we can be is in our community, knowing our community and being a part of it.
Well said. Yeah. Well, the bank is generally considered a legacy institution in town. Well-known, oldest and largest community bank. What does it mean to you in terms of carrying that responsibility forward?
No, it's heavy. I've thought
heavy
about that
the
often. Yeah, right. It's heavy. You think about the lives that depend on you, right? So there's 300 of us that work here together, and our families depend on us to have good careers and good jobs. So it starts with that team and their children and their husbands and wives and extended families. It then migrates to what I would characterize as thousands of clients that really depend on us as an organization. And then step 3, which is the community, I think embraces us as one of the few and more capable, committed corporate citizens to continue to be there for the larger community and their needs whenever they come calling, right? Then we can answer the bell. So the legacy of our institution is incredibly important to me. Our shareholders are like the benefactors of the success that we have, and those individuals, they're or the beneficiaries, I should say. They're so supportive and loyal to the cause that it's because of them that we're allowed to think as long-term as we can. And when I think about the legacy, I mean, that's the legacy that we're leaving behind, as an organization that, was founded here and committed to this place and touched the lives of shareholders and clients and employees alike.
So speaking of the shareholders, I mean, they are unique in the sense that their composition. That most banks in the country, if very few maybe, share that composition. I mean, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. So we characterize them, let's call it roughly, of 700 families in Tampa Bay that are our shareholders, and to the largest degree, most are all clients of some kind, or employees, or members of the board of directors. There might be a straggling few that maybe used to work here or were connected in some way back in the day. But so it's a family, right? I mean, we treat it as a family, and we engage with them in an intimate way with an annual shareholder meeting every year. That's really more like a cocktail party than it is.
Party,
yeah,
yes.
Than it is. I have to get up there and present some content, but hopefully keep it to a minimum and that they be entertained. But that shareholder base is critical because there's no institutional investors in there. It is all people that know us, that we know, and that helps, I think, really solidify the commitment to the cause and the mission of what we're trying to do.
Well said. We had talked about legacy, and with legacy comes a lot of tradition. And we have a very strong culture. There's a lot of tradition within our bank. Mm-hmm. How do you balance that with the need for innovation?
Yeah, so I thought about that, Owen. I appreciate you asking that question, and it probably comes down to what is the true definition that it applies in my mind to innovation versus tradition. I love traditions, right? I think we those of us that are old souls really all can embrace the concept of tradition. What I think is more interesting is when people talk about innovation in banking, they think that's something new, and it's not, right? When people first started trading goods, right? It was barter system and goods trading, right? Form of payment. Mm-hmm. Then it migrated to a currency, right? There's the evolution of currency, became payment. Currency then turned into, U.S. dollar and a variety of different forms of payment that other countries might have used for their own currency, right? And then cash became that currency, right? So dollars and cents, and I guess gold and silver were in there somewhere as commodities, but dollars, cents, still coin, that sort of thing. And then it migrated to checks, and then an ATM machine, then credit cards, and then, all forms of payment that we ultimately see today: wires, ACH, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, the things of way people move money. What's coming now is RTP, and then Fed now. So I use that as an example to say, if you just simplify innovation to one kind of innovation in banking, it's just take the payment system, and it has changed and evolved over the entire time that we've been out there. So we have been innovating all along. End story, right? Like that. So it's not just threatening tradition of who we are. It's just banks have been innovating all along. Now,
is it maybe just the pace?
It's
of
accelerated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely accelerated, in the last, 10, 15 years. But I didn't want to lose the point to say, I think innovation's always existed. So we don't need to be afraid of it. We just need to embrace it, find out how it fits in our world, and then find out how we preserve who we are and what's special about who we are, which that's where I think of tradition, right? Is the legacy and the value systems that we have and the way that we serve clients in an intimate way. So I don't see them as being in contrast with one another. I think they complement one another.
Yeah, kind of marrying the two together is the secret sauce. Speaking of legacy again, so our organization has only had 3 CEOs in its history. Jerry Divers, our founder, Bill West, our longtime CEO, and of course you. Jerry and Bill are considered just some of the top leaders in our community.
Yeah, they're unbelievable people.
What's one lesson that you have taken from each?
Yeah, so it's funny when you say that, it reminds me of when I was promoted to CEO in January of 2022, like you referenced. One of our long-term employees, somebody who had actually been here from the beginning of the bank, wrote me a nice note and just basically said that, Corey, it's Jerry Divers, it's Bill West, and it's you. And it stopped me in my tracks because I had not really thought of that, right? That was the first time that it had ever come to me that my name was going to be in any way associated with those two gentlemen.
Big
by
shoes
the way,
to fill.
yeah. Well, and by the way, it doesn't deserve to be there. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
I mean, I appreciate I've been given the opportunity. Whether I earn it by the end of the day, we'll see. But I've been given the opportunity, and those two guys were, I referenced earlier when I made the decision to come here, I got to meet with leadership, and it was those two guys. I had breakfast with Bill, and then I had a meeting with Jerry that afternoon. And the next day I had an offer letter in my lap, and I took it, right? Like, it was a 24-hour turn on an interview process. And it's just because when you're looking for people to follow and you meet the ones you want to follow, you jump in and dive in with both feet. So they are just remarkable individuals that have shaped everything about who I am today and where I am. So how do I pick? But I'll do my best, right? So I always remember that Jerry Divers, and for those of you that are listening, I had the pleasure of working with him a lot one-on-one, and so we effectively refer to him as Mr. Divers. But in the context of me having a one-on-one conversation, I'm going to just use Jerry, because Jerry and I would sit.
And he would always tell you to call you Jerry.
Anyway,
it was hard to.
We just had to break away.
It was hard
from
to, right? Yeah.
But I'll never forget that, he said that, Corey, we are in a profession, right? And a lot of people in the world reference banking as an industry. And he says, no, it's a profession. We're ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And I always just really embrace that, because I do, in fact, see the difference there. We don't want to commoditize what we do. We want to instead separate ourselves and treat it like we're professionals serving professionals and business owners and people who appreciate and enjoy and embrace service and attention. And so I'll never forget that. I try and parrot that, and you have heard me do it before. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I'm not surprising you with that one.
Not at all.
Bill and I had the pleasure of working really closely together for really 20 now of the 22 years that I've been here. And for many of those 20 years, it was a lot of one-on-one, an enormous amount of one-on-one. So there is no way I can peel out one thing from Bill except to say that just to know him is to know that he is just the most sincere and genuine person you could ever engage with. And from my perspective, watching a leader like him lead an organization and make big decisions, but do it while all the while being sincere and genuine, like, there's so much to learn from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So much to learn from that. So
true gentleman.
So yeah, true gentlemen and you're right, pillars of the community.
I would say, I would agree, and I'd probably, from parroting you on the comment with Jerry and just talking about our dress code, and mm-hmm. I know that's something very superficial, but I think it does put you in a different mindset.
It does.
And sets us apart in the community as professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But Bill always, it's stuck in my mind, is practicing at the top of your license.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple
times. Yeah, he said that often. Yeah, yes. Loved it.
Multiple times during the week where I'm in the middle of something, just because it's easier to do. Like, I'll just do it myself. And I'm like, is this the top of my license? Bill would tell me. So Stop it. Have someone else do this.
We have other people that can help.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We're a team.
Anything that people would be surprised to know about you?
About me? Yeah. I mean, I believe I heard the news yesterday that Ryan Sandberg passed away. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And he passed away,
Long-time
I believe,
Chicago Cub,
yeah, from prostate cancer, which, so I share this. It's not intended to be gloom and doom, but it's just reality, is that I'm actually a prostate cancer survivor. And when people learn that about me, they're surprised. Now, of course, you know it because we worked together for a long time and you knew when I went through it. But so that's probably one of the more interesting, just what's going on there. So I use it as a public service announcement, man. Any man that's 40 years old or older, you start checking your PSA and watch for it. That's what happened to me. I was watching it and had an opportunity to address it early, catch it early, and proud to say today I got treated. This was back in 2017, and by all indications, cancer-free today. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah. Congratulations to that. We're very happy for that.
Well, yeah,
and if you live long enough as a man, chances are you're going to get it. Yep.
Now, on the lighter side, I think there's entertainment. Well, you already said I have an obsession with styrofoam, so yeah, that. But that's no surprise to friends and people that know me. I can juggle.
Okay.
Which is a little catches people a little off guard. That's only from growing up on a tennis court.
Next annual play meeting.
Yeah, I can juggle. And associated with that, I think I have some just hobbies of things that I do that just don't really fit with what you see in the suit and tie. Like I rollerblade. Which,
out here on Bayshore?
Yeah, I've done it, but usually you won't know who I am out there. I try and get a little bit incognito, but I do that for a form of exercise. And latest, as you know, I'm trying to learn how to e-foil.
Oh yeah,
so that's my next. That's the next thing I'm gonna try and tackle.
That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I do.
For those that don't know, that's an electric surfboard that has a foil on it. incredibly hard to do.
I just can't, like, there's one thing balancing, but then having the control in your hand.
Yeah. It's 6 or 7 variables that are constantly going on. It's crazy.
I'll throw it up for our younger listeners. There's a game called Fortnite that all the kids play. Mm-hmm. And so very different than a first shooter game where you're like building structures within. And I played one time with my son and I thought I was holding my own, and then he just boxed me in, and I'm like, what's that? Like, I can't, my mind doesn't work. It's too much.
Yeah, I've never been a video game guy. I didn't have the dexterity or something. Yeah.
That's when I knew I had to hang up the controls. I'm like, all right, I'm out. I would like you to share it because I think it's a funny story, but also demonstrates your servant leadership and commitment. But so Newberry. We had a property we were financing in Newberry, and you happened to be there because you've got family there, and you offered to do a site inspection, but that's not the funny part of the story.
Yeah, wow. So, so Newberry is Newberry, South Carolina. I'm from South Carolina. That's where I call home. My actual hometown's a little bit like 20 minutes away from Newberry, called Chapin, and it's my favorite place on earth. I still get to go back and visit often. I happened to be up there visiting, and I was in South Carolina for a conference, and it happened to coincide with the conference with like the week after the Masters, which coincides with the Heritage Golf Tournament, which is in Charleston, or Hilton Head, maybe Hilton Head. The end result is all the rental cars were occupied, like in the entire state of South Carolina. So I had no way of transporting from Charleston back to Chapin, which then I needed to go visit Newberry to do a site inspection, as you referenced, and then I needed to get to Charlotte to get to the airport. And the first attempt was Uber, which actually worked. It got me from Charlotte to Charleston, but it was kind of expensive. So I thought there's probably a better way to do this. I called my assistant, Carly, and I'm like, I need some help. And so Carly, God bless her, she went to town and found a solution. And it was a U-Haul truck, like moving truck, that was about 30 minutes away outside of Charleston. So I Ubered to a roadside gas station, picked up a U-Haul, and drove all over the state of South Carolina in a kind of a mid-sized U-Haul, moving absolutely nothing in the back. It was just my rental car for the experience.
I've played that story in my mind as like, you're pulling up on this building into U-Haul to do a site inspection, and just probably the look on their faces like, who is this guy?
Yeah, I think everybody back here had a lot more fun with it than I did. So, because I think we had a picture of it. I think I took a picture at some point. But yeah, that's a funny story.
Thank you for sharing that. So you also keep a list of quotes in your phone, and I know we've been out to lunch or drinks a couple times, and you come across something that's good. I mean, any favorites you can share?
Yeah. So what I got a couple that come to mind, particularly in the context of this. So you mentioned that it comes out and we talk about it. So a lot of times the quotes end up developing out of my conversation with somebody. And so I'm reminded of one time I was with one of our clients, and we were talking about the fact that I keep quotes and we pull them out. And, he mentioned something, and then we started kind of brainstorming it together, and we came up with our own quote, which we thought might apply to our bank in some form or fashion. So marketing, get ready, right? Lock this in, see if you want to use it. But we started out with, how people will make the comment that say, hey, it's not personal, it's business, right? And so we came up with, if you think it's not personal, it's business, we think nothing's more personal than business.
Oh, I like that.
So
that's
I thought that was kind of a good one.
Because it is both.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of fits with who we are too, right? Yeah. So that was a cool one, right? So I thought that was a good one. Another one is one of my best friends who I spend a lot of time with. He has a habit of basically just saying, hard work beats talent, particularly when talent doesn't work hard.
That's good. So I feel like I've heard a derivation of that before.
I'm not suggesting it's his, but right? Like,
but it's good, and it's accurate, right? It's all in the execution.
That's right, right. And particularly in a business where I don't know that our business necessitates specific talent. I don't know that it's a lot of learned skills and abilities. I think it's a good one. Just work hard, right? You work hard in our business, you win.
Yeah. Outwork the next person. Outworks the next bank. What do you think some of the biggest challenges are facing community bank and regional banks today?
Oh, I think it's squarely on the innovation topic that you discussed earlier. The the investments that the national banks, the global banks are able to make on the technology front in order to stay at the cutting edge of that innovation that frankly the client base demands. They have thousands of people sitting in in floors of buildings, writing code, customizing, doing their own
spending
thing.
billions of dollars.
Billions and billions of dollars. And we can't afford to do that, right? And so what has happened is the evolution of the fintech industry, which are financial technology companies, right? Companies that invest and create technology to be used by financial institutions. That's what fintech means, by the way. So the evolution of the fintechs has had to come on board for banks like ours, community banks, and for regionals. Super regionals can kind of afford to do some of their own work too. And we have to wait for those fintechs to develop the products that we need that we can then plug into our system. We got to make them work, number one, which is not easy to do when you're using somebody else's code and trying to plug it into ours. But we can't afford to have those just floors and thousands of people and billions of dollars spent. So we have to wait for others to develop it and for them to get proficient at it, and then for us to go buy it and plug it in. And so it causes us to be probably a little behind, when that technology is growing. But it also gives us the ability to be a little more agile, right? Like, so, the fintechs can move faster than the 3,000 coders, at the global banks. If they can develop it quickly and it applies, and we can plug it in quickly, then we can have some technology that is on par, at least, with the global. So now, that's the challenge that we face. But the advantage that we have is, I think, a good topic that I'd love to pull the thread on, which is, in times of crisis, and you and I have lived together through at least two major crises, right? Like in our banking careers, the global financial crisis and then COVID, the pandemic. There was a strict and absolute advantage to being a smaller, more confined, and more engaged bank for the client, right? When the client was in a mode of crisis and their world was falling apart, the ability to come and us to be able to engage and solve for them in that moment really validated the use of and the purpose of why we exist. And so yeah, we got to keep up with the technology, but it's okay to not be so big that you can't still serve a client in a time of crisis. And so that's a big part of our strategic direction for our bank.
And I get the great financial crisis, very different animal, much longer, bigger scale. But when I think of COVID and PPP and the ability of a bank of our size to really be able to start and say, okay, we're going to take care of all of our clients, be able to actually do that and get through all of our clients, right, and then still have a waiting list of people saying that my bank won't respond to me.
Yeah, you knew it. We took care of every one of our clients and then a whole bunch of theirs.
Yes. Yeah, so part of that is the relationship building process. Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned that earlier. I look at you as someone who builds great relationships. I mean, our mission statement at the bank is we build relationships. Mm-hmm. What's your thought process there? I mean, do you go about it strategically? Is it something that comes naturally? Is it a combination of both? What's your process?
Yeah, this is oversimplifying it for sure, but I just think go make friends everywhere. And over time, you'll find out the friends that you want to keep and the ones that you've earned trust with one another. And, over that time, then they may need you and trust you enough to say, can you help me with my business or my personal needs of banking? And so it's kind of like go make friends and then make friends clients over time. And that goes back to a lot of that original topic of just who am I as a banker and why did I feel more comfortable in a community bank environment than the large banks. The large banks taught me when I got started, separate your personal and your business life. Those need to be completely separate. It gets back to the quote, by the way. Separate your business and personal lives because we don't believe you can be objective in that scenario. And I would simply say that I'm not looking for objectivity when I'm trying to serve a friend who I trust and who trusts me. And in fact, when in times of need and when they might be in a difficult situation, I'd much rather a friend be sitting across the table to try and help them solve for it. So I think the philosophy that we have here is that we want to completely blend our personal and our commercial and business lives because, right, like clients don't separate theirs, right? Mm-hmm. They believe their lives are intertwined, and we believe our lives are intertwined with them. So now
their business is very personal.
That's right. That's right. So what does that mean? Well, when you live and work in this community and play in this community, at any time, right? It doesn't matter what's going on. I'm out to dinner with my family, and I see clients all around the room and engage with them and say hello, and they see me in the community, and they know that the ultimate decision maker isn't hiding away in some other city, that that has the destiny of their needs in their hands, right? That they can come over to me and say, Corey, I need some help. Or I can go over to them and say, hey, Owen, hey, I need some help from you, right? Like that, and I think that's what building relationships are all about.
And the downside of that is when you're trying to get a sub sandwich and catch up on email, and you don't want to be seen. You're found anyway.
Yeah. There's nowhere to hide around here.
There's not. All right. So the banking world is
referencing a story from the other day when I had lunch. So yeah.
Over the last, I guess maybe 40 years now. So 1982, there was 14,500 banks. That's generally considered the peak. Today, I mean, let's just call it, like, give or take 4,000.
4,000-ish.
Ton of consolidation in the industry. Do you see that continuing as a result of all the fintech and the competition, where the market is heading? I mean, we're going to be Canada and only have practically 5 banks. I know they have like 80 something, but really there's only 5.
Right.
Do you see that trend happening here?
I see the trend, but not the destination, right? Okay. I mean, I think that the capitalism of the United States and our free market system is never going to consolidate to that extent. And by the way, I don't think that the needs of the clients out there are going to allow it, right? I mean, it gets back to that validation of sometimes you just need a smaller institution that knows you and in order to solve your needs. So now the trend is absolutely happening. My own speculation is that, for everybody's benefit, the 4,000 banks that Owen is referencing, banks measure themselves by asset size. It's just the one common, easy to compare moniker that can be used. And so of those 4,000 banks, we are $3 billion in assets, and that puts us somewhere in the 500-ish largest banks in the U.S. So that means there's 3,500 banks smaller than us. And that's really hard for me to kind of grasp. And I think our listening base might enjoy that as well, because what does it mean? It means there's a whole bunch of small banks out there, much of them serving rural communities that don't have the super regionals and the national banks even represented in their hometowns. And so there's a need for community banks. We happen to be unique in the sense that we've established that presence in a thriving metropolis here that we've been able to carve out our position. So I think there's a place for the community bank space to still serve the clients because the clients are calling for it. I also think there is an absolute need for the large super regionals and national banks because the mass retail client out there, mass consumer client needs it. And then the large public company corporates need it. So I think there's a place for both large and small. I just think all the banks are challenged with how big is big and how small is small. And I think that's where you'll see that M&A activity happen, somewhere in that middle space where people are trying to either get big to compete on the big side or hold back the reins to try and stay on the small side.
Interesting. So we're independent, which I really think is part of our secret sauce. So in terms of just, I guess, maintaining that independence, how do we do that? In your opinion, if you agree with me, how does being independent better service our clients?
Yeah. So, and by independent, I'm going to jump to the conclusion you mean privately owned and owner managed, right?
Thanks for filling the gaps.
Without institutional ownership. So no one other than us and our board and our shareholders are telling us, what do we need to be and who do we need to be, which gets back to the uniqueness of that shareholder base, right? That they are so committed to our cause and support our mission and our purpose in serving Tampa Bay that they're giving us the flexibility to execute on that plan. And by giving us, I mean long-term, right? Like, if we were publicly traded or we had institutional investors, there would be pressure on us to execute, deliver within quarterly, time frames. And that's just not rational and reasonable. And all of my friends and my peers, other bank CEOs that I've that I compare notes with regularly, who are publicly traded, regularly remind me, Corey, stay private. Whatever you do, stay private, right? Like that's the best course of action because it gives you time to develop a strategy, to invest in that strategy, and then execute that strategy. That doesn't happen overnight. And so you need a good, loyal shareholder base that believes in the long-term value that you can build by doing that.
Well, I could think of one institution locally where they were being criticized for having too much commercial real estate, which was not unique to them. A lot of banks found themselves in that moment when we had the, I guess you'd call it the banking crisis with Silicon Valley Bank. That was one of the things that everybody focused on. So found themselves divesting. And then, oh, by the way, they had pretty good yields on some of those assets, and now your yields aren't there. Now we're back in commercial real estate, and that was kind of a quarter by quarter development.
That's right.
Where,
That's right.
As an independent bank, we don't have to worry about that.
Yes, and I should take the moment to just say there's one other constituency that I haven't referenced yet, which is our regulatory partners, right? The bodies that oversee us. That we're a heavily regulated profession, not an industry. We're a heavily regulated profession, and therefore we do serve another master, which is the government and the regulatory bodies that exist, and so, the balance between serving shareholders, having long-term vision, keeping your regulatory partners happy so that they know that we're a sound and secure institution. And by the way, they're doing that to protect our clients' deposits. It's that simple, right? That's why we're regulated, is because we're holding the deposits of a lot of people who are dependent on us. So we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing all the time.
Absolutely. As we continue to grow, because inevitably, if we do the right thing, it'll just happen naturally, whether we want to or not. It's kind of the inevitability of being successful and being in the community and seen as a valuable community partner. How do you keep the values and the culture that have made this place special as we grow?
Boy, that Owen, that's probably one of the toughest things. I think that our leadership team, yourself, myself, and the others that sit around the table, and really every level of our organization, really needs to stay committed to. I mean, for those of us that work here in the bank, we know Our Way book, which was an attempt that we embarked on probably 8-10 years ago to really define what our culture is, put it in words, and then have it as a deliverable to every new employee that joins the bank to express these are the kind of the values that we live by and the words that we are inspired by, and it's I call it a book. It's 15 pages with pictures and quick statements, not a heavy lift to digest it. Thank God, because I'm not crazy about reading all the time. But that's the basis for trying to preserve who we are, and those values. I make the statement. No one's called me on it yet. It'll probably come soon, but any one of our employees has a right to walk into my office holding that book up and calling me on it. Corey, you've made a decision that's inconsistent with this book, and what are you going to do about it? And so that accountability for each other and to each other, I think, is an important piece of the puzzle. Of course, I don't want to diminish our culture down to a book, right? It's so much more than that. So it's our actions every day. It's how we treat each other. It's the level of engagement that we give. So, I really rely on every one of us that works in the organization to preserve the culture. It's maybe my job to kind of be the flag bearer for it, but I ask everybody else to pick up the flag each day because I need help.
Well, using one of your favorite terms that we've all embraced is, we have locked arms.
Yes.
On that. We've talked about that in executive committee a number of times to preserve the specialness of what we have. And a lot of our employees, I imagine, are going to listen to this. And Jerry Divers, his philosophy was, if your employees are happy, they'll make the clients happy, and therefore we'll grow. The shareholders will be happy. But I think we've seen it probably more so now than any other time in my banking history is talent's hard to find. Mm-hmm. And, we need to retain and grow our talent. So, right. I mean, when you think about that statement, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, growing our own is success, right? I mean, I have the pleasure of being a product of that, right? I mean, I got manufactured in another place, but that helped develop my mindset to say, okay, that I know how valuable it was to be invested in and for the company to invest in building me and the skill sets that I need. And then there's an ask of the employee, and I think it was asked of me, which is just then be patient, right? I mean, I'm grateful for the fact that, you talk about I had 6 positions over the course of my career here, but really only like 3 levels, right, of positions. So when I think about major corporations and the corporate rungs of a ladder mm-hmm. that are available for people to feel like their career is progressing, we're just a flat organization. I want us to be a flat organization because that's the best way we serve the client, is stay as close as possible to them. You still own clients. I still have clients, right? Like never be too far away from the client experience. And so, what do I ask of our employees? I ask for patience, right? But I ask for you to find ways to feel fulfilled in your career other than titles and positions. It's more about impact. Of course, we're going to reward, right? And we do the best we can to be competitive on pay and flexibility and benefits and all the things that are necessary there. And I do think that we do a good job of that. But it's asking the employee to define their success in their career by more than just the title that's on their card, or the rung that they are on the ladder, right? Expand it to be. I'm an impact guy, so that's where I define fulfillment.
One of the things that's really unique to the bank is you had mentioned earlier. I mean, we're a great community partner. Yeah. We give back in many ways. I mean, financially, of course, but I always say that it's not a requirement that our employees are out volunteering in the community, but it's an expectation. Most of them embrace it, and when you want to talk about just feeling rewarded in giving back, and this is an institution that really allows you to do that.
No question. And if I may digress for a minute, Please. Not digress really, it's probably progress. Is thinking back to the question about Jerry and divers and the impact that he made on me. There's a story that I shared with the press upon his passing, which was just a little over a year and a half ago now, right at a year and a half, and they asked for a memory that I had when I first joined the bank back in 2003. He and I were riding out to visit a client together, and he started the Jerry speech about, we'd really like for you to be engaged in the community. We're a community bank. We serve the community, and kind of saying, Corey, what do you think you might have an interest in? And I quickly responded, because I had been kind of conditioned this way, is say, well, Jerry, I have a lot of interests, but is there somewhere that the bank already has money committed that you need representation? I'd be happy to step in somewhere and do that. Oh, and I'm not kidding. He pulled the car over, like in a parking lot. We were going down Kennedy Boulevard. He pulled off Kennedy and pulled in the parking lot. I'm like, oh. He pulled the car off and he put it in park, and he looks at me, right, just for impact. And he goes, that's not how we do it here. He said, you find something you care about. You find something you're passionate about. You go embed yourself in that place, and we'll put the money behind you, because the only good that you're going to be to that organization if you care about it. And I'll never forget that, right? And so I love that story, but it's also we do our best,
you're bringing me back to my childhood. It's like, I'm going to pull this car over.
I'll pull this car over.
You got the car pulled over on you.
Yeah, I did. I felt it too. Yeah, it was very much. So, but I think that's what it means to be really committed to the civic cause. That's what we can move the needle, right? I mean, you mentioned the Power 100 thing, which is kind of embarrassing. I don't know where that really stems from, but do I get phone calls regularly for asking me to make an introduction, connect somebody? And it maybe just reminds me that, like, maybe it's the title, certainly it's the bank, but I happen to be the lucky one to sit in the seat right now. But it's possible to kind of move the needle on something just by picking up the phone and making a couple of phone calls to other friends in the community that want to accomplish something.
No, and it goes back to our conversation about relationships. Yep. I mean, you've developed deep and personal relationships of other influential people in the community. So it's just you being you. We're grateful for having you.
I kind of say that.
But so probably I would imagine one of those calls, and you're at the pulse of it, being at the top of the bank and having conversations with clients and all of us in the executive team and our bankers. I mean, what's your take on the Tampa Bay economy right now?
Oh, well, so I think I do the adequate expectations of what a banker should do, right? I watch the business news every morning. I read articles and things that are coming across. I don't profess to be an economist by any. In fact, you probably are way more better of an economist than I am, just by your level of engagement in that. But I think that what I should be doing to pay attention to what's going on in the world. I am incredibly bullish on Tampa Bay, and I don't have the statistics necessarily to back that up, but I know this, right? Every restaurant I go to is full. I was at the mall this weekend. I had to go to the mall. I don't usually enjoy that, but I had to. Yeah. And it was jammed up, and people spending money like crazy. Traffic's on the roads. Sporting events are attended. I mean, well, most sporting events are attended when you can, have a stadium to play in, right? But the idea is I'm just trying to watch for the signals that support that. I mean, certainly there are statistics like home prices and homes for sale, availability, starts, right? A lot of the real estate stuff that you're so deep in. But consumer behavior, I think, is a big driver, and the consumers are alive and well in Tampa Bay.
Do you see any big trends in industries that kind of caught your eye?
I'd say the only trend that I think we should be paying attention to is just the impact of tariffs. I don't think we've been in that long enough to know what it's going to mean yet. I know that our clients, in talking to them, are having to pay the tariff at the docks when goods show up, and they're trying to pass that price along to whoever they're selling to, and I don't know that that's found its way all the way ultimately down to the consumer yet. So I do worry about, is inflation really in check? We'll see. Because I do think there will be something's got to happen as a result of that longer term. I think if whatever happens with home prices, would be something that but that's kind of in the rearview mirror, I feel like, and so much of home prices are going to be driven by interest rates, and so if interest rates come down, which by the way, I probably should just officially say that I don't think interest rates are abnormally high right now, and I'm talking about where the Fed funds rate is and or where Treasuries exist, such that therefore that's where mortgage rates are, that sort of thing. They're historically not high. They're kind of in range historically. Now, from 2008 to today, have we taught a generation that money costs nothing and is worth nothing? Yeah, because we had 15 years of zero interest rates, and so that
we built an economy on it.
Yeah, and that mindset has to change. So we'll see what interest rates do. I suspect that there will be ongoing pressure to kind of notch them down, but I don't think it's going to be dramatic, and I'd be okay with that. So because I don't feel that there's immediate pressure that we have to get down now. So
where do you see the bank in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, man. Well, we're doing our strategic planning right now, and we're going for the next 5 years. And so what do I see? Just in general, I see us as a bigger bank, serving the geography that we have, maybe an expanded geography, but always Tampa Bay. And the definition of Tampa Bay keeps growing. So I kind of feel like that's why we need to define our geography consistent with that. I think we'll be a better organization, right? Just in all sense of that. The better the way we serve clients, better the way we solve problems, better the way that we engage with the community. So really, more of the same, just bigger and better.
What do you want, or what do you hope that people say about the Bank of Tampa 40 years from now?
So 40 years from now would take us to 81 years old as an institution, which, as you know, and those of us who have had the pleasure of working here together, we kind of affectionately refer to ourselves as a unicorn. And it's a unicorn because of the ownership that we've talked about already. It's our friends, our third-party friends that call on banks across the country, basically support and advocate that we're so unique that it's hard to kind of find somebody that compares in a similar situation to us. So what do I want 81 years from now, or 40 years from now and being 81? I want somebody to say, man, that thing is truly proven itself to be a unicorn, right? I mean, I'd still love for it to be a privately owned organization at that time. I'd still love for it to be serving the Tampa Bay community, whatever the definition of the Tampa Bay community is at that time. Be that lone kind of corporate citizen that has just proven over and over again that we care about the people that we live, work, and play with, that are here. So, I think even more importantly, it's possible. It's possible.
Well, that would, not to give away your age, but that would put you in the 90s. You would effectively age out of the board. Yeah. But maybe technology will allow us to stay online. You'll still be on the board at that point.
That's what I love. And what I love about that, Owen, is we play a team sport. And our bank, rightfully so, was founded by Jerry Divers, and he got it started. And by the way, he started it when he was 50 years old, which I think is pretty cool to think about it. Like the age that I am now is when he said, I'm going to start a bank and do that. And then he passed the torch to Bill West, and Bill's job, I think, so effectively was to build a team that can run it into the future. And, and I'm a member of that team, and I've been built on that team, and you're a member of that team. And so is, all the 300 people that work here together. And so why do I think making it to 81 is possible? Is because it's team sport, and we got an incredible team that can run it for that long. So,
I agree. Now we have an amazing team. Anything else you want to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
No, I'll commend you for your efforts to do this. As you know, I'm not a podcast guy, so you had to kind of educate me on.
It's taken you over a year to get on
podcast. Well, yeah, to even understand what are we going to do with this, and so thanks for your effort to do that. I think it's I think you've had some incredible guests on, and it's evident based on the statistics that of people that are listening and paying attention. I still don't know why anybody would really have much care about what I have to say, but whatever. We've done
this could be our most popular episode. Thank you for doing it.
But no. So thanks for doing this, because I think it does take a message of who we are as a bank and an organization and the role that we play in the community to a broader audience. And so my quick pitch to anybody listening out there that's not a client, I don't know why everybody in Tampa Bay doesn't line up at our doors to do business with us, right? I mean, because I really truly believe that the way that we can deliver for them is better than anybody else can do, and we have to earn that and prove it. And every day we make mistakes, and we have to prove it over again to our existing clients that no, we're here for you. Just give us a chance to solve. And so. So I want to build an organization that then can meet the needs of the people that are looking for that.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap this up. But thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for the
pleasure. Yeah,
thank you for the kind words. And I'll wrap up as we always do. But Corey Neal, thank you for coming on Money Market.
All right. Thanks, Owen.
You can find the Money Market Podcast and the Bank of Tampa online. And also look for us on YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and on Instagram. Before you leave, make sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe button. And we'll be sure to see you around in the Money Market.